Super Smash Bros., the quintessential fighting game, the ultimate crossover between almost all of Nintendo's most popular video game characters, the game with so many fighters in its universe that not making a countdown about them would be immoral, which is why today, I'm counting down my top 30 best Super Smash Bros. 4 fighters. But first, a few important things. I can't stress this enough, this is just my opinion and no one else's. I'm speaking only for myself and no one else. Also, since I don't always agree with it, the official tier list will have no effect on my choices. I may mention it, but overall, it has no effect on my choices, as I've said for the second time now. And finally, yes, I am aware that they're always updating the fighters, buffing and or nerfing them, but I don't really think that matters, since the updates are never really that major anyway. So, without any further ado,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
he's dark. He's cold like the pits. He's armpit. Whoops, sorry, I meant to say Dark Pit. Now I might know what you guys are thinking. The Koro Glass Score 472, why Dark Pit instead of Pit? Well, the answer, my dear friends, is quite simple. Dark Pit is slightly better at KOing than Pit is. Sure, Pit and Dark Pit have identical movesets and combos, but what makes Dark Pit stand out is that a few of his specials, specifically Silver Bow and Electroshock Arm, are better at KOing than Pit's Palutena Bow and Upper Dash Arm. I mean, I do really like Pit as a fighter, but I prefer Dark Pit just a little. But on to Dark Pit himself, as I said before, he's got some real good KOing options with his Smash attacks and Electroshock Arm. Also, he has no need to worry about projectiles, since his Electroshock Arm and Guardian Orbitars can deflect them like nothing. As for combos, Dark Pit's standard attack, along with its finisher, can rack up quite a bit of damage, especially against heavier opponents. And his tilts can put some real distance between him and his opponents, making spacing one of his strong points. Also, one of Dark Pit's other strong points is his recovery. He has multiple jumps, and on top of that, his power of flight can give him a lot of distance in any direction of his choosing. And I guess Electroshock Arm can grant some horizontal recovery distance, although that's a bit risky since an opponent can easily get in the way of that. And finally, Dark Pit's final smash, Dark Pit Staff. I must say that I dislike how this final smash is basically a rip-off of Zelda and Sheik's, but it's still a good one since it can easily hit and possibly KO multiple opponents at once. Granted, they're in the staff's path. As for Dark Pit's tier spots, I can live with 27th out of 58 since that's pretty close to my ranking. On that note, Dark Pit takes 30th place. Do you have a buddy? Does he operate well? Is he robotic? If you answered yes to all these questions, then you must have yourself one kick-ass robotic operating buddy, or Rob for short. Correct, number 29 is Rob. Honestly, when I first started playing Smash, I didn't use Rob too often. However, I decided to expand my Smash palette and try out every single fighter in the game. And once I got to Rob, I found that he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. His Smash attacks all have their strong and weak points, like how his side one is powerful but its range is quite subpar, his up one is powerful but hard to land, and his down one is good at spacing but not too powerful. But even better with Rob are his aerial attacks. A few of them, specifically the back and down ones, are a bit hard to land, but if you do manage to make contact with them, you'll be rewarded, since the back one launches very far and the down one meteors. As for the others, his standard aerial is powerful but has a bit of startup lag, while the forward one isn't that great at all. But here's the piece de resistance, Rob's up aerial. This attack of his hits multiple times and launches very far upward. If you land this hit close enough to the upper blast line, you're pretty much guaranteed a KO. Yep, in my opinion, Rob's best aerial is the up one. But enough about his aerials, let's look at his specials. Robo Beam is okay, but there are some better projectiles out there. But Arm Rotor can hit multiple times and launch at the end, and can even deflect projectiles. Also, his Robo Burner gives him one of the best vertical recoveries in the game since it gives a lot of distance and charges over time. And his Gyro, oh boy. His gyro is one heck of a projectile. It does take a few seconds to charge, but after that, Rob can be a real annoying, trollish mofo with this thing. Just throw it, then grab it, then repeat. Throw, grab, repeat. Throw, grab, repeat. Trust me, you will love this process since it'll give any opponent a large amount of damage. Now on to Rob's grab. His pummel isn't that good, but a few of his throws are great, specifically the up and down ones since they can both space and launch really far. Finally, Rob's final smash. Super Diffusion Beam can be a bit hard hard to make contact with, but if your opponent just happens to be in the right place, you can deal a lot of damage. And if close enough to the edge, it could even be a one-hit KO. Oh, wait, I almost forgot Rob's tier spot. 28th out of 58 is certainly pleasing to me, since it's only one spot off of mine. So, with all this going for him, Rob operates into 29th place. Do you like that candy Mike and Ike's? I know I sure don't. But if you were to take away the Mike and part, then I'd love it. Because number 28 is, you guessed it, Marth! Nah, just kidding. Of course it's Ike. If you want a hard hitter, Ike's your boy. Sorry, Roy. Right up there with Little Mac, Ike is one of the best KO netters in the game, what with his smash attacks. While slow, they do major damage and knockback. Also, Ike's tilts and standard attack are good at catching opponents off guard, since they're somewhat quicker, and therefore less powerful than his other moves. If you're wondering about Ike's aerials, I think we should just ignore them, since Ike is much better on the ground than in the air. I mean, his aerials are strong, especially the up and down ones, but Ike is just better when grounded. Believe it or not, that's all I can say about his regular attacks, but Ike's got some pretty good assets in his specials. Eruption is powerful and great for edge guarding, while Quick Draw is a good way for Ike to move around, and even recover horizontally. Although it does take a few seconds to fully charge. As for the up and down ones, Ether is good for spacing and okay for vertical recovery, while Counter can really punish hard-hitting opponents since it's a really powerful counter. As for recovery and grabs, Ike's grab isn't really worth mentioning, and his recovery isn't that bad, but it could be better, since Quick Draw is easy to interrupt, and Ether recovers Ike only when he's facing the ledge. On to Ike's Final Smash. Great Ether is one of the best Final Smashes out there. As long as you're right next to an opponent when you have the Smash Glow, you can easily land this Final Smash since the attack hitbox is open right as the button is pressed. And after that, Ike slashes any caught opponents several times, and finally smashes them into the ground. This final ground hit is really good for KOing, even at low percentages. And finally, Ike's tier placement of 35th makes me a bit mad, since I think Ike is substantially better than that and therefore deserves a higher placement, but no matter what, he shines bright as my 28th best Super Smash Bros. 4 fighter. He wears green, he wields a sword and a shield. He's left-handed, he has a cartoonish counterpart. He's... fine, Link. Firstly, I'm sure many of you are curious as to why I put Link above Toon Link despite Toon Link being higher on the tier. The answer to that is while Toon Link is really good and I do like him as a fighter, he's just not powerful enough for my liking. He's essentially a lighter, smaller, faster, but less powerful version of Link, which makes me slightly prefer Link. But enough about that. Link is a swordsman with a surprising amount of projectiles, but even with this, he maintains a strong sword game. His standard attack can catch opponents off guard, and his tilts are great at spacing. And his dash attack? Link has one of the best dash attacks in the game, since it's really strong, especially at the sword's tip, and can launch really far. As for his smash attacks, the up one is good at trapping opponents as it hits 3 times and launches quite far. The down one is quick and hits twice, making it good for surprising opponents. But in my opinion, Link's best smash is his side one, since it can hit twice and launch really far. On to Link's air game, none of his aerials are worth mentioning, except for the down one, which can hit multiple times and even Meteor, under the right circumstances. Now on to his specials. Like I said before, Link has several projectiles, all of which have their pros and cons. For example, Hero's Bow is strong and launches far, but only when fully charged. Gale Boomerang is great at edge guarding and spacing, but isn't too powerful. And Bomb is good at interrupting and possibly spacing, and it can even aid in Link's recovery, but it's not really that powerful. As for his up special, which isn't a projectile, on the ground, it can launch opponents decently far, and in the air, it gives pretty good recovery distance. Now for his grab. The pummel is fast and can rack up quick damage, while his throws do have some strong points, but overall, they're not really worth mentioning. However, the grab itself gives Link an extra recovery option, since it's a tether grab, which can be used to grab the ledge of the stage. Finally, Link's Final Smash, Triforce Slash, is quite easy to land, and, like Ike's Great Ether, slashes the caught opponent and bystanders multiple times, and then launches a super strong final hit, which is really good at KOing. Now for Link's tier spot, I have to say that I'm quite pissed off at this one, since 43rd out of 58 is pretty bad. I know Link's not the best fighter in the roster, but I personally think he deserves better than 43rd. But regardless, Link links into 27th place. Sorry, 3 swordsmen in a row. Hate to tell ya, but my best Fire Emblem fighter is not Ike. There's your first hint for number 26. Here's another one. He's the only fighter to share a name with another fighter, except for the fighter he shares his name with. Little tip, the fighter that number 26 shares his name with is actually a palette swap. Figure it out yet? If not, then... Anyway, yep, it's Roy. The Fire Emblem Roy, not the Koopalin. Anyway, Roy's sword, the Sword of Seals, is the opposite of Marth's Falchion, since it does the most damage at the hilt, while Marth's Falchion does the most damage at the tip. This makes Roy an up-close fighter, especially since he has no projectiles. However, he's still great enough to make it onto this list. Roy's standard attack is great for catching opponents off guard, since it's quick and even trips. His tilts aren't that great, but his smash attacks are. The up one traps opponents and hits multiple times, while the side one is quick and can launch far. As for the down one, it's quick, launches decently far, and can hit the same opponent twice if Roy's in the right place. His aerial game, however, isn't worth mentioning, except for his down aerial, which can meteor under the right circumstances. Onto his specials, Flare Blade is very similar to Ike's Eruption, as it's really powerful, especially when charged a lot, and is great for edgeguarding and KOing. Double-Edged Dance is good for trapping opponents and catching them off guard. Blazer has several hitboxes and can sometimes catch opponents off guard. Again. And finally, Counter can put some serious hurt on any opponent that tries to attack Roy if timed well. Onto grabs and recovery. Actually, never mind. Roy's pummel is subpar and his throws aren't very good at all, and his recovery is pretty bad. As for Roy's final smash, critical hit, it's good, but not the best. Roy will slowly twist his sword, then make a powerful hit, which is pretty much guaranteed to KO. However, for the hit to land, opponents must be in the path of Roy's sword when he twists it around, for if they're not, then it will miss. Finally, Roy's tier placement of 58th out of 58 really infuriates me. I'm not saying Roy should be high on the tier at all, I'm just saying I think he deserves a spot better than 50. But forget about that, Roy. Regardless of what others say, you're awesome enough to make 26th on my list. Finally, a girl. She has a big ship in space. She's the mother of thousands of star-shaped creatures. Sorry, can't think of any more hints. But you shouldn't need any more, since all that info's more than enough. That's right, 25th place goes to none other than Rosalina and Luma. Rosalina and Luma are essentially the ice climbers of Smash 4, but better, in my opinion. They can do something no one else can. Play ping pong with opponents, since Luma does whatever Rosalina does. That's right, with Rosalina and Luma, you've got 2 fighters at once. But let's not dwell on that. Let's analyze their attacks, which is the whole point of this. The standard attack is good for trapping opponents and racking up damage, while her tilts are good for spacing, and the up, down, and forward aerials are good for KOing. Onto the smash attacks, they're all great at launching and KOing, and can even catch opponents off guard since they're also quick. As for their specials, Luma Shot is good for doing damage and KOing, and also for separating Luma from Rosalina, thus potentially setting up a game of ping pong. Star Bits isn't really that good, but Launch Star, while non-damaging, gives great recovery in any direction, and Gravitational Pull is great for destroying projectiles. As for Rosalina and Luma's grabs and recovery, I just said that Launch Star makes their recovery great, so... but the grab's not really worth mentioning. Finally, the final smash. Power Star is one of the best final smashes in the game. No, ever. Once activated, the star will launch several star bits all over the place, thus spacing very effectively, while at the same time growing in size, and soon exploding, which does lots of damage to anyone in the way. Also, if an opponent gets caught in the star while it's growing, they'll be pretty much guaranteed to get hit by the explosion, which I forgot to mention is practically a one-hit KO. Do I really have to say anything else about this stellar final smash? Pun intended. Onto their tier placement, 4th out of 58 is stellar. Sorry for using the same joke twice. It just proves my point that Rosalina and Luma make a dynamic duo and a really great Smash Bros. Fighting team. So yes, with all of this, Rosalina and Luma have definitely earned their spot as 25th on this list. Every good hero needs a noble steed, because without one... Fine, you got me, I don't know why, it just seems like a must for any good hero. But did that hint help you at all? If you guessed Yoshi, you've guessed correctly. Yoshi's got several assets in all his attacks. His standard and tilts are quick and good at spacing, while his aerials... need to be covered individually. The standard one is quick and therefore good at catching opponents off guard. The up one is really strong and can KO at low percentages near the upper blast line. Also, the forward one can meteor if contact is made in the right place. The back one hits multiple times and launches far. And finally, the down one hits multiple times, traps opponents, and meteors at the end. Also, this down aerial can deal up to 30% damage on heavy opponents. Now onto his smash attacks. The up and side ones are powerful and launch far, and the down one is slightly less powerful but hits twice. Also, Yoshi's dash attack is worth mentioning since it's quite powerful. Now for his specials, Egg Lay is a very useful move since it traps the opponent in an egg. The higher the victim's damage, the more time it will take for them to escape from the egg. And if the egg lands on the stage, Yoshi can attack it several times, allowing him to get in a lot of free damage. But if the egg launches off the stage, then it will be possible for the trapped opponent to get KO'd easily since they'll have to break out of the egg before being able to recover. As for the others, Egg Roll is good for traveling fast and does make Yoshi hard to hit. Egg Throw does just what the name says, giving him a pseudo projectile, as well as a bit of jump height when used in midair, slightly aiding his recovery. Finally, Yoshi Bomb is really powerful and the stars it launches are good for spacing. As for grab and recovery, Yoshi's grab is a bit slow, making it easy to punish, but his pummel is fast and does decent damage, while his throws throw far. And his recovery isn't too bad, but it could be better. Yoshi has the best airspeed in the game, despite being a heavy character, making horizontal recovery among the least of his worries, while his midair jump goes really high and his egg throw gives him a bit of distance. Finally, Yoshi's final smash. Super Dragon is honestly not that good of a final smash. Sure, it makes Yoshi invincible, but the fire blasts he launches are kind of easy to avoid, and on top of that, Yoshi's movement is a bit slow. But if you do manage to land any of those fire blasts, they will launch far and do big damage. Onto Yoshi's tier spot, I'm happy with 23rd out of 58 since it's only one spot off of mine. So, with all this going for him, Yoshi hatched a nice 24th place. For number 23, all I'm gonna say is, he's yellow. Yeah, it's Pikachu alright. So far, in every single Super Smash Bros. Installment, Pikachu has been a high tier character. And while he is at the very top of Smash 64's tier, I think Smash 4 is his best game. Pikachu's standard attack is a bit bad, since while it does hit multiple times, it has no finisher, making it risky to use. Also, it's quite easy to escape from, since each hit doesn't link together that well. But if we look at his tilts, they're all great at spacing, except for the up one, which is better at juggling. And his smash attacks, don't even get me started. The up one is quick and surprisingly strong. The side one is powerful and launches far, and the down one hits multiple times and is great for trapping opponents. As for his aerials, the up one isn't really worth mentioning, but the standard one is good at taking opponents by surprise. The back one hits multiple times and traps, while the down and forward ones are strong and launch far. Now for the specials, Thunder Jolt is good for spacing and camping, and possibly edge guarding. Skull Bash is powerful and gives Pikachu great horizontal recovery. Quick Attack is good at catching opponents off guard and dealing swift damage, while also giving Pikachu another recovery option in any direction. And finally, Thunder is very powerful, and if the move makes contact with the cloud, it will meteor the hit opponent right into Pikachu, and the electric explosion will launch them really far. Now for the grab, Pikachu's pummel is okay, but his throws are the main thing since they're all quite strong and good at spacing. Lastly, Volt Tackle, Pikachu's final smash, is pretty good. It's a bit hard to control, but once contact is made, it can be good for KOing. Just press the standard attack button, and Pikachu will give off a jolt that will launch anyone nearby. Now for tier placement, 12th out of 58 is really good and proves my point that Pikachu is a strong fighter. Not at all shockingly, Pikachu zaps right into 23rd place. Don't be messing with this electric mouse or you're gonna get zapped.
Run! It's Godzilla!
Number 22 is quite the character. Badass, strong, skilled, everything along those lines. Dagnabbit, Meta Knight, you were supposed to wait for your cue! Forget it. Number 22 is Meta Knight. Yes, he's a swordsman, but trust me, Meta Knight is definitely not your average swordsman. Like Yoshi, many of Meta Knight's attacks boast strong assets, starting with the standard, which is fast and hits multiple times, thus trapping opponents, with the final hit launching surprisingly far for a standard finisher. Also, his tilts are great at catching opponents off guard, since they're really quick, and the side one has multiple hits. Meta Knight also has really good smash attacks. The side one is fast and powerful, which is a perfect combination. The up and down ones are also fast, but not all that powerful. However, to compensate for this, they hit multiple times, the up one hitting thrice and the down one hitting twice. As for his air game, Meta Knight's aerials are fast, but not quite as powerful. Onto his specials, they're all really good. Mach Tornado and Drill Rush are great for trapping opponents and hitting multiple times. Shuttle Loop is great for dealing 2 strong hits and taking opponents by surprise. And Dimensional Cape is great for sneaking up on opponents, escaping, and delivering a really strong hit if the button is held. Also, in addition to having multiple mid-air jumps, every single one of Meta Knight's specials are great for recovery, giving him the most recovery options out of any character in the game. As for the grab, the pummel's not too good, but the forward and back throws are good for spacing and launching, while the up and down ones do a lot of damage. Another thing I should mention is that Meta Knight is great at edge guarding, since, again, he has several mid-air jumps and several attacks that can easily combo into one another. And finally, Meta Knight's final smash, Galaxia Darkness, launches one swift, yet extremely devastating sword slash, which is pretty much guaranteed to KO near the edge. Also, this move is pretty easy to land since Meta Knight will flash his cape, which has a lot of range, and anyone who gets caught in it will get hit. Now for his tier placement, 13th out of 58 proves my point that Meta Knight is a force to be reckoned with. It may not be as good as his Brawl tier placement, which is 1st out of 38, but it's still really great. So, with all this, Meta Knight definitely earns his title as my 22nd best Super Smash Bros. 4 fighter. What happens when you see a ghost? You scream, right? What's another word for scream? Yell, shout, holler, shriek. Yes, that's it, shriek. Take one letter from that word, then switch 2 of them around, then you're left with number 21. I'll give you a few seconds. Time's up! If you took away the R, then switched the positions of the E and the I, you've made the correct moves, and now know that number 21 is Sheik. Sheik is your average ninja, fast and strong at the same time. In terms of attacks, she's got lots of options, with her standard trapping opponents and launching decently far with the finisher, and her tails being great for combos, especially the side one. Onto her smashes, the up one is powerful if landed on the sweet spot, the side one hits twice and launches pretty far, and the down one is fast and good for spacing. And her aerials, the up one is a great combo follow-up, specifically perform it after the down throw. The standard, side, and back ones are quick and therefore good at catching opponents off guard, and the down one can meteor under the right circumstances and help Sheik get back on the ground fast. As for her specials, Needle Storm is great for taking opponents by surprise since it's very quick. Burst Grenade is great for spacing. Vanish gives Sheik decent recovery in any direction, and also does decent damage. And Bouncing Fish is great for edge guarding, spacing, and in some cases, recovery. Onto the grabs, Sheik's pummel and throws are alright, but not perfect. The only thing really worth mentioning is her down throw, which is a good combo starter. Last but certainly not least, her final smash, Light Arrow, is great for KOing and can hit multiple opponents at once. Exactly like Dark Pit's Dark Pit Staff. Although that one's just a rip-off of Sheik's. Finally, Sheik's tier spot of 3rd out of 58 is really great, and it just goes to show that Sheik is a lady who knows how to give out pain.